the best of the week on Relevant Radio.
I want to introduce you to, I believe he's a future saint. He's venerable right now. And you know me, I've always talked about the blesseds like Blessed Sapochko, or the venerables or the servants of God like Maria Esperanza. Call upon them. There was a saint, a future saint I should say, there was a priest who was evangelizing our Midwest. He was in the upper areas here. He was an Italian. I kind of like him. His name was Samuel Mazzuchelli. He was here in the country at a time before the great movement westward from the East Coast, when the land here was incredibly rugged. It was primarily woods and prairies and streams and lakes, tons of wildlife. Of course, a lot of Native Americans had lived in the country here. And as the pioneers began to move west, there were missionaries that were assigned to various regions. And you know some of the great stories from Italy. One of those was this Italian Dominican named Father Samuel Mazzuchelli. Originally from Milan, he joined the Dominicans at 17. Against the wishes of his father, he was recruited here, and he basically ended up in the areas of Wisconsin and Iowa and Michigan and a number of other places as well. But he would travel on foot and horseback and on snowshoe. He went to bring Jesus Christ to these people. He preached the gospel to anybody who would listen. He ministered the sacraments. This guy was a genius in some respects. He established 34 parishes. He built 20 churches. He visited the sick and the dying. He spent himself just in a total dedication to his vocation, and he suffered. He was a man who embraced suffering. I talk about suffering a lot. He even reportedly, and we'll get all the details on his reported vision of the Mother of God, that the Virgin Mary actually appeared to him. Was there an apparition in the United States far before anyone recognized? What about St. Joseph? There's words that a mysterious visitor came to him. We'll fill you in on that story as well. But he died young, age 57, pneumonia, caught up visiting a sick person. And when he died, they found what they call penance chain wrapped around his midsection, and he had worn it so tight and so long, it actually embedded itself into his flesh. It had to be very, very painful for him. I had the opportunity to pray at his tomb and to hold that very chain, and there's a power with it. There's been reports of healings and miracles. He was declared venerable by none other than a saint, St. John Paul II. So if you need a miracle today, I think it's God's providence that I have in the studio with me today, Linda Schoemann. She's a friend. I took a pilgrimage with her, and we became friends. Went out. She introduced me to Father Mazzuchelli, and I had the opportunity to pray at his tomb and to hold his penance chain and see where the Virgin appeared to him. And it's a delight to have in studio with me today, Linda. Linda, great to have you. Welcome.
Oh, it's wonderful to be here, Drew.
Linda, after we had taken this trip, you and I had talked, and you were telling me about Father Mazzuchelli. I didn't know about this guy, and I love the apparitions that have been reported to take place in this country. And Our Lady has come, other saints have come to other missionaries. And I thought, in the upper Midwest, where the Mother of God appeared in 1859, where the only church-approved apparition in the entire United States of America, we had another possible saint that maybe their paths crossed. Some of the buildings that he built, I think, are in the Green Bay area. But fill us in on Mazzuchelli right now, who he was and his mission.
So Father Mazzuchelli was born in Italy, and he is venerable, which is the second of 4 steps in sainthood. So first is servant of God, where the diocese prepares information to indicate the holiness of a person. And then when that is accepted by Rome, then he's declared venerable, which is where Father Mazzuchelli is. And then we need to pray for his intercession and his singular intercession, because we need to be able to attribute it that it's to Father Mazzuchelli and not someone else. And if a miracle is granted, and of course the miracle comes through God, but by the intercession of this holy person, if the miracle is granted and goes through all of the very rigorous process by the church is very careful about declaring miracles and saints, and then they would be declared blessed. And then we go through the process one more time, one more miracle, and then they would be canonized as a saint.
So his cause is underway.
Yes.
I'm jumping way ahead of his story, but Are there miracles that have been attributed to him?
There have been many, many what we think are miraculous healings and favors granted. The office at Cincinnati in Wisconsin, where they have the Mazzuchelli archives, they have literally, I think, thousands of favors granted that they keep track of. So they've been trying to sort through all of those. And of course, Holy Mother Church is very careful about making sure that this is a valid, legitimate miracle. So there's a very long process. Actually, the average time between when a person dies and they are declared a saint is about 180 years.
That's a long time.
Yes.
So he would evangelize. Was it the locals, the natives, both? I mean, what would he do?
Everyone.
How many languages did he speak?
He spoke, well, of course, Italian. Yeah. He learned English, French, because he dealt with the French Canadians in the border. He ministered to many Indians, many Indian tribes throughout Wisconsin and Iowa, and each one of them spoke a different dialect. So he was amazing. And he covered at one time, his territory, his parish was Wisconsin and Michigan, 50,000 square miles. My
gosh.
Yeah, so I know our priest.
50,000 square miles. How do you do that without a train or a plane? He did that on horseback and foot, right?
Exactly. Miraculous.
And you think about how cold the upper Midwest is.
You lived in Green Bay, so
yeah, I lived in there for several years. I've seen some record, snowfalls and some plummeting temperatures in that area. Yeah. What were the states that he navigated?
Well, when he came to the United States, he was ordained in Ohio, and then he covered part of Michigan for a while, and then all of the state, or actually it was not even a state then, territory of Wisconsin and Iowa and parts of Illinois.
St. Joseph and Our Lady, what do we know about those visitations?
Well, Father Mazzuchelli, his mother died when he was only 6 years old, and he had a very strong devotion to Our Lady of Sorrows. Wow. And I think that was probably a connection on why he did that. And so in his later years, shortly before he died, he was living in Benton, Wisconsin, where he lived his last 15 years. He's at his rectory, and he saw visions of Our Lady twice. And he reported to one of the sisters, the Dominican sisters there that he founded, that he said, I've always been a great admirer of beauty, but I have never seen anything or anyone as beautiful as Our Lady. Wow. Yeah.
That's amazing. And St. Joseph? Were we sure at St. Joseph?
Yes. So one time he was wrestling with a problem and wasn't sure what to do, and this gentleman called on him at the rectory just out of the blue and said he was passing through, wanted to visit the Catholic priest. So the man came in, and Father Mazzuchelli, probably inspired by the Holy Spirit, shared this problem with this man, and he presented an idea that Father Mazzuchelli never occurred to him, and he said it was perfect. And so then shortly after, the man left, and Father Mazzuchelli got up to the window to watch him walk away, and he disappeared.
Yeah, well, I love it.
He always felt that was St. Joseph, and which is very fitting since Father Mazzuchelli built 20 churches that St. Joseph, the worker, the carpenter, would naturally come to him and help him solve a problem.
The penance chain, we only have a few minutes. I want to get to this and some other things we're talking about. This is something, we talk about suffering a lot, and Mazzuchelli embraced it. I mean, not only the cold and the lack of food and all the things you endure in this wild frontier, and having to, you said, traverse 50,000 miles on foot and horseback. That's not fun. Right, outhouses and everything else, the cost of life, showers, etc. Tell me, after his death, it was discovered that he wore what they call a penance chain around his body. It was hidden beneath his clothes. Nobody knew. Nobody knew this. What's with this penance chain? Explain that and his embracement of the power of suffering.
Well, I've heard it said that the worst kind of suffering is wasted suffering, that we all will have a cross to carry in our life. And you would think that despite all that Father Mazzuchelli, all the suffering and sacrifices he made, you would think that would be sufficient, and yet he wanted to take on even more. the saints, especially Saint Faustina, they knew the value of suffering. And after he died, then they discovered this penance chain that no one knew he was wearing, and he apparently had been wearing it long enough that his skin, as he gained a little weight, it was embedded in his skin. And that penance chain is now, you can find it at Cincinnati, Wisconsin, Dominican Order that he founded. And many people have come to pray with the chain and ask for miracles and intercessions.
And if I remember correctly, he died in 1864 on a freezing day in February. He was called to bring sacraments to a dying parishioner, and he went despite the bitter cold, and on the way back he collapsed. Did he die in bed, or did he die on the way home?
After he got home, he got pneumonia, and he suffered for, I think, a week or 10 days. So he had time to prepare, and they did everything they could. They could care for him, and that's when he saw visions of our Blessed Mother the second time.
Absolutely amazing story. Well, we love him. If you want to learn more about Father Mazzuchelli, or if you're in the States, you want to take a pilgrimage. This is a hidden, unknown gem. And I've knelt at his tomb, and you can pray at his tomb. And there's a little place where he died, a little upper room there that's been preserved as well, where the Virgin Mary appeared to him. You can also do that. Not too far from this church is that penance chain.
So that is located in Cincinnati, Wisconsin.
Yep.
And then cincinnati.org you can go to for more information. And then he died and is buried in Benton, Wisconsin, which is about 15 minutes away.
I love it. So go and check it out if you want. If you want to figure out how to spell the Italian name, Mazzuchelli. It's Mazzuchelli. Mazzuchelli, Mazzuchelli. And you can check that out. Well, by the way, if you do get a miracle through his intercession, report it. There's several already in queue that could lead up to his beatification. So he may very soon be called blessed. Soon after that, canonized. And maybe God is going to allow you to be the miracle that elevates him to the altars. Maybe God wants to use your suffering and the intercession of Mazzuchelli for that great work. You can join me and listen on the Relevant Radio app to the Drew Mariani Show live each weekday at 2 to 5 Central. Thanks for listening.